Hello and welcome to another Looney Tunes review video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to follow my journey to review all 1000 classic Looney Tunes shorts and give this video a like as well. So this is a review for Plain Daffy, released in 1944. It's the 441st in the series, and it's directed by Frank Tashlin. You can find this on the Looney Tunes Golden Collection Volume 4 DVD set, and on the Platinum Collection Volume 3 DVD or Blu-ray set. I have a link below to both those sets. It's not on YouTube, it is a copyrighted short, so unless Warner Brothers themselves upload it on here, which given the subject matter probably they won't, you're just not going to find it here. But in case you haven't seen this one, so we have these carrier pigeons who are waiting for the arrival of number 13, who seems to have been seduced by Haramati, and I'll explain that reference in just a few moments' time. And sure enough, he gives up secrets, and they got to figure out who's going to go up against her, and sure enough, they get self-professed woman-hater Daffy Duck to do so. And sure enough, he goes there, and you get your various shenanigans. Hypersexual ones, by the way. I mean, it is a Frank Tashlin short after all. So first up, you're going to see is a re-edit of the original commentary I did with my good friend Austin Kelly, who's a self-proclaimed Tashlin-holic, before I had to take that down. And then we'll go through the short and go through some of the references that were missed. So without further ado, let's get into it. And with me today, I mean, who else is going to be with me in these Tashlin commentaries is my good friend Austin Kelly. Say hi.
Hi, I'm here. Of course, I'm here. Really fun Daffy cartoon we've got. Scripted in May of 1943, 16 months before it was released in September of 1944. And obviously one of the earliest cartoons that didn't have Leon Schlesinger's name on it as producer.
I'm sure you'll agree with me on this one, but every time I watch a Tashlin short from this period, even though they're only like 7 or so minutes long, it feels like I've watched a much longer movie, but in a good way.
Well, yeah, of course, because even Tashlin admitted in his later years, when he was doing these, all he really wanted to do was actually make movies. Now, during that period in his life, Tashlin was a little weird. He was kind of just blowing off everything he had done around this point, and he said he was just kind of attributing everything that the Warner Studio ever came up with to either Jack Benny, radio, or Disney. So he was not very enthusiastic at that time when he said he was only thinking about films, but it's very clear that he would have much rather been doing 75-minute long features instead of 7-minute cartoons with Porky Pig and Daffy Duck. Porky, who he absolutely hated. Now, obviously, this femme fatale type of character was used by Tashlin a lot later in a lot of his feature films, like Girl Can't Help It, Real Success, Spoil Rock Hunter, usually played by Jane Mansfield, who was in a lot of Tashlin's films and really great actor. I highly suggest you check those out. But yeah, you could definitely see Tashlin's influence from his animation time in the Warner Studio and everything leaking into his features, because I think I'm not alone when I say his cartoons were a lot more like features and his features were a lot more like cartoons. If you've seen his Jerry Lewis stuff, you really know what I mean. But I want to say that, the fact that Tashlin thinks like some kind of a joke about this Daffy being like seducted by just a leg is something everyone would relate to is so weird. It's like if you look at a Clampitt cartoon from the same time, like the jokes relating to like sex and lust and things like that are nowhere near as sophisticated as like someone sticking out their leg. Like with Tashlin, it's just someone sticking their head out from someone's crotch and it's supposed to be like a penis. It's just such a hilarious contrast. I absolutely love.
At least we know that Daffy's a true patriot. I mean, he was in the Scrap Happy Daffy, and now he's in this one, so it just works so well. I love this Daffy. It's an amazing Daffy. Do you know who would have done these caricatures of the, of Hitler, Goebbels, and all that? Because it looks really good.
In some cases, it would have been up to the layout artist, which was Tashlin himself. But sometimes there would be another person who would be doing character models. But I would assume it was Tashlin doing the designs. They're very much in his style. scar art type technique that he was using a lot these days.
So, final thoughts. I mean, obviously, you love Tashlin, but how would you rank this one amongst his 40 stuff?
Well, I don't even have to rank it among his 40 stuff. Just overall through his career, I think this is absolutely one of his best, finest, funniest, well-crafted films. I think this is one of his best, and dare I say, one of the best Warner cartoons, one of the best war-related cartoons. I think it's a home run in every way.
Yeah, definitely. It's not cringy like Tokyo Jokyo. Sure, it's a propaganda short, yes, but you know what? It's done so well that even if you're not interested in the propaganda side of things, it's still a funny short. So those were the highlights of the original commentary. So one other thing I wanted to point out before we actually go through the short from start to finish is that the title itself is a play on the term plain Daffy. So Daffy to be crazy, wild, so he's just plain crazy kind of thing. So that's where that comes from. So looking through the cartoon from start to finish, I love the opening. We see that it's a very somber mood at the headquarters of all these carrier pigeons, and right away as we get in, we see a beautiful cinematic shot of all those carrier pigeons looking determined. They're smoking their pipes and cigarettes, just adding to the mood there. I've said this a million times in previous Tashlin reviews, but he is definitely the most cinematic out of all the Warner Brothers directors. And yes, the narrator this time round is indeed Robert C. Bruce, and he also does the voice of the captain that you'll hear. And a lot of the animation here is quite limited, and it's something similar to what Tashlin did in Brother Brat that was released just before this one. And you see that they are usually gay birds, and they're smiling, but today they are not, and straight away they're just down, and we see a lot of pans of still images. So, again, it's a cost-cutting measure to be sure, but Tashlin does it so well here. And yes, everyone really loved to smoke back then, didn't they? I just love that scene where you see all those pilots there smoking all those cigarettes, and sure enough, the dangers of cigarettes at the time weren't exactly as well known as they are today. And in fact, cigarettes were even given to soldiers when they went off to war back in World War II, and earlier, of course. And we see the tense wait as to whether their buddy is going to return. In this case, it's Homer Pigeon instead of Homing Pigeon. I guess I could do a Simpsons reference here, but sure enough, no, Homer was definitely a common name that was around. Not sure about today, given the popularity of The Simpsons, but anyway. And they really drive the point home with all those cigarettes, don't they? That big pile of cigarettes kills me every time I see this short. And, as with a lot of Tashlin shorts of late, he would start off pretty slow. In fact, Daffy doesn't even show up until like the third minute of this short. But it's done so well and it's just so funny. And the animation here was repeated from the earlier scene with them smoking all those cigarettes, but you know what? Who cares? So we learned that the pigeon is AWOL with a dame. And sure enough, we cut to who this dame actually is. And looking at the background elements, some of it looks like it's a photo, especially of that wine bottle. If it's not, it's pretty close, and the detail is amazing, especially in this high-definition print here. And sure enough, we see our villain, or villainess in this case, who is Hata Mari, and that's a parody of Mata Hari, and she was a Dutch exotic dancer, and she was also convicted of being a spy for Germany during World War I. As for her appearance, however, it appears that she looks like German actress and singer Marlene Dietrich, and looking at her pictures, I can definitely see it. And given that she was German as well, it makes kind of sense as to why Tashlin would do a parody of her appearance in this short. And her voice is done by Sarah Berner, as per Keith Scott's wonderful Cartoon Voices book. But how stupid is this homing pigeon anyway, given that she literally has swastika earrings? I mean, come on. This is so ridiculous. And sure enough, the pigeon here is a take on Mortimer Snerd, which was like a really stupid ventriloquist dummy at the time. And there was even the so-called Snerd bird that Clampitt did in a short before this, and in one that will come out after this one.
Nope. I ain't gonna tell you no secrets. I'm no stool pigeon. Nothing to it.
But at least he's not a stool pigeon and does not want to tell her any secrets, so she walks over in a very seductive bit of animation. Could you tell this is a Tashlin short? It's hard to tell, isn't it? But she's about to slip a Mickey, and I like how out of the bottle we got all the fruits that come out of it as well. By looking at that bottle, Mickey Blitz Finkrieg. Hilarious. And on the bottom, I'm assuming they wrote down the new odor, which is sort of the new order, new odor, and sure enough, we've even got the swastika symbols there. But in case you weren't aware, to slip someone a Mickey is to basically drug someone via drink, like a seductive drug, which is a massive no-no. I mean, I shouldn't need to tell you that, but that's what the term means. But sadly, he may be loyal, but unfortunately he starts babbling, and sure enough, we get a sped-up voice of Mel Blanc, who does his regular voice anyway.
The next shipment of 10,000 bombers leaves New York on the 2nd. Berlin will be rated at 8 o'clock. High Command will invade on the 23rd. Convoy of 100...
And Haramati gets the answer that she needs. And sure enough, she delivers the answer to you-know-who. Now look at the effect on this one shot, where she flips the switch, where we see Hitler himself listening on, and then the whole front of her is darkened. It's not a big thing, but it's a wonderful little touch where we can now focus on Hitler, who's the focal point of this shot. And the way this was done, did I say Tashlin cinematic? I don't think I've ever mentioned that, have I? And sure enough, he realizes what he's done, so I'm assuming the drug's worn off, so it didn't last particularly long, but anyway, and he turns into a jackass for a brief moment. Now, this is quite dark. I mean, this short shouldn't be shown to kids anyway because of its World War II references, but man, I would imagine that this bit would have been cut for television if it was ever shown. He basically says, I need a hole in my head, that can be arranged, and here's a gun.
I need a hole in my head.
Now that's an idea, you little souse. But do it outside. I've just cleaned the house.
See, because we all know cartoons are just made for kids, right? But even in a scene like this, Tashlin makes it so hilarious, so he slinks over to the door, and of course, it's a regular pistol, and yet it sounds like a machine gun. And he goes back in and says, I missed, so...
I missed.
Yeah, it's a very dark joke, but at least here it's pretty funny. And to top it all off, he even tries again. As we fade into the next scene. So the pigeons realize that Homer has met his doom. I mean, he's number 13 after all. But looking at all those names, so you've got Warren, Tubby, Dick, Kurt, Walter, Leon, Ray, Ace, and Cal. They're all staff members at the studio, so Warren Foster, Tubby Millar, and so on. So yeah, it's interesting that you've got a reference to the studio and that they're all pigeons, so nice little touch there. But for good measure, we even have Walter Pigeon, who was an actor at the time. So the captain mentions that it's the Queen of the Spies, and even in a printed picture, of course it has to be seductive, and the other pilots even faint at the sight of her shaking her thing, as we can put it.
That's 28 men and 28 tries. It looks like the work of the Queen of the Spies.
And all the crew members have fainted, similar to how the women were fainting over Frank Sinatra in the previous Tashlin short. And now, at 3 minutes and 44 seconds, we finally see Daffy Duck, the self-proclaimed woman hater, and he's going to be the one to save the day. And according to Daffy,
I'll do the job. I'm a woman hater. She won't get to first base. This had a marry to make her.
well, we'll just see about that now, won't we? And we get a weird gag of Daffy just leaving really, really fast and then realizes, whoops, I forgot to take a military secret. And I like how these are supposed to be very secret things, supposed to be very secure, and it's just sitting there like it was an outgoing letter or something. And now Daffy's all neither rain or sleet or wind, and sure enough, the weather even changes as he says that, so it's all very patriotic, and I love all of this because it just builds things up to the point where once he actually sees her, well, you'll see what happens.
Neither wind nor hail nor rain nor sleet will stay this courageous courier from the completion of his appointed rounds.
And sure enough, for the first time in any Tashlin short, I kid of course, we see a leg being shown, which automatically seduces Daffy. So much for being a woman hater, huh, Daffy? So she gets him inside fairly quickly, and can we just say this is probably one of the most sexually charged Looney Tunes shorts ever made? I mean, look at this. Clearly this was not made for kids, okay? One of my arguments against people saying cartoons are only for kids, well, watch this cartoon, okay? And her kiss literally even causes a massive spark in him, and I love the animated effects here. And look at the way it's animated, so you've got the two heads together, obviously in the kiss, being on one part, and then it's only Daffy's body being animated, so the energetic sparks that happen, and then you get the minor explosion, and then he just droops down. This short is just incredible when it comes to animation and some of the economics of animation too. So sure enough, he literally melts down and he melts through the floorboards, and just as she's going to get these secrets that weren't even properly guarded in the first place, we see a reverse of everything, and Daffy's like, nope, give me that. So maybe he's a lot smarter than we thought, so he says he's a woman hater, maybe he's just playing along because he's actually really good at what he does. Who knows? And I like his line, you think I'm a Benedict Who's It? And that's a take on Benedict Arnold, the traitor at the time of the American Revolution. And sure enough, after some wonderful Scott, S-C-O-T bit of animation with Daffy's neck being the way it is in this shot, Daffy then gives her a taste of her own medicine, and we see some more wonderful special effects animation here, where she's the one that's going to get sparked. We then hear the line,
Something new has been added. Woo!
Something new has been added, which has been in many Clampett shorts, but we see now here, and that's a Jerry Colonna line, which was a slogan for Old Gold cigarettes that was done on the radio at the time. And look at the shot of Daffy running away. It's just smears and nothing else. I mean, this is something interesting to slow-mo, and this is Tashlin just pushing things to the absolute extreme. Wow. I'm just dumbfounded at this particular shot. And then it stops with Daffy tiptoeing up the stairs, and then it goes back to smears. Tashlin definitely knew what he was doing. And then we have a bit that was similar to the bit in Bugs Bunny and the Three Bears, where Bugs would go around opening doors and seeing the different bears. And here, Daffy opens the door, and sure enough, sees her with a knife. He opens up I guess it's the dumbwaiter or whatever it's called, and she has a machine gun already in there. Which, okay, gotta love that added touch there. I'm not sure how the gun even fits in there, but you go along with it, of course. And because we need a rule of 3 with this, she's even in a trapdoor underneath the actual floorboards with that massive gun. I mean, the angle just to even get to that trapdoor is amazing enough, but this looks fantastic as well. And he ends up in an umbrella stand, and sure enough, she shoots like crazy, and somehow she still misses him.
Missed me.
What a crazy scene. So by now the pace has really picked up, so Tashlin this one, once again, like he's done in a lot of recent shorts, he would start off very slow for the first half, and the pace would just pick up like crazy. And sure enough, the next bit is that Daffy goes outside, and he could very much escape and be done with it. But no, he goes back to her saying, it's scary out there.
Let's go back inside. It's scary out there.
I don't know, that just cracks me up. And what also cracks me up is when Daffy goes inside the fridge and he says in a different voice, sounds kind of like Barney, the voice that Mel Blanc would do later on, what do you know, the little light, it goes off.
Well, what do you know? The little light. It stays on.
Much to the annoyance of Villainous here. So she's finally had enough and finally gets the gun inside Daffy's mouth. And sure enough, no more games. That's it. She's going to finish him off. And she pins him up against the wall with her gun. And look at these dramatic shots where she says, give me those secrets. And then we see another shot where the gun barrel is so exaggerated, where he's up against the wall. He's drenched in sweat from nervousness. I don't think I ever mentioned that Tashlin was cinematic, right? But ever the patriot, Daffy swallows the paper and says, I'm never going to give these secrets up. So she's like, okay, since you swallowed it, I'm going to put you in this X-ray machine so we can see exactly what this message is. And in case you haven't figured it out by now, yes, there's going to be a massive punchline in relation to the message. So that's what I like about that. This is not even a military secret. It's actually something that's going to give a really funny punchline at the very end. And we see our villainous leaders look on. So we have Hitler, of course, and we have Goebbels and Goering, who are prominent figures in Nazi Germany. And we get a build up to what this military secret actually is. Because remember, this is 1944, and even though this would have been in production in probably late 43, at the time the tides were beginning to turn against Germany when it comes to World War II. So you can imagine they would be very excited for anything to help turn the tides once again. And after some more wonderful special effects, because we all know that's what X-ray machines actually do, they make all these sparkling bits of light, right? No, it says Hitler is a stinker. Beautiful. And he sure was.
Hitler is a stinker? That's no military secret. Yeah, everybody knows that.
And even with that punchline, we get some more added things in there, like Hitler saying, Hitler's a stinker, done wonderfully by Mel Blanc, by the way. That's no military secret. Like, okay. Anyway, it's pretty funny. It makes me chuckle. And of course, the whole, yeah, everybody knows that. And how they cover their mouths in shock, realizing, whoops, we've annoyed the Fuhrer. And they end up shooting themselves over their little mistake, and then Daffy proclaims they lose more Nazis that way and bounces off doing his famous whoops. So there we are. So once again, we have a wonderful World War II short, which is a time capsule. It's a product of its time, but it's done right. Once again, it targets the monsters behind World War II as opposed to the people and demonizing them and so on. And this is one of the best. So I like the ones done by Clamper where it does it one way, and I like the ones that Tashlin did it in a different way. So this one easily gets a 9.5 out of 10. It's fantastic. I know, you overuse the word cinematic, but it is, okay? So it's very cinematic. It's got that wonderful slow burn in the beginning, building up all the drama, and then boom, once Daffy gets into the picture, we get gags flying at us, and all of them actually work, and they're all really funny. But this one's definitely a must watch. But that will do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and until next time, take care.
Knows that. Woohoo! They lose more darn nutsies that way.